Hello and welcome to Horseplayer Happy Hour on our season finale, a week where we have so much content that we're actually starting early. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, and we are going to get interviews with 8 of our final table members. We've got a special appearance from a friend at Daily Racing Forum, a little taste of our Monster Pods coming up, and we're also eventually going to be speaking to our Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour champion as well. And we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get right to the interviews. Often we start off with our man, Jonathan Kinchin. Today, we're starting off with a different Jonathan. Let's get to him right now. One of the fun things about doing these shows is not just welcoming back familiar names and faces, but getting to meet some new people. And that's what I'm getting to do now with John Cummings. How are you doing? Welcome to the final table.
Pete, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun. And I do want to say, first thing I'll say, Pete, is I appreciate what you're doing with the happy hour. I appreciate the aftercare donation element. And I know you talk about that all year long. And I enjoy doing these things, but that makes it even better for me.
Still, I appreciate you saying that because it is one of the unique things here, and we want people to stand up and notice, and knowing that that means something to you as a player, well, that means a whole lot to me. Let's get your basic statistics first. Where do you live? What do you do for a living? How old are you?
I'll be 66 years old shortly. I currently live in Delaware. I've lived there about 2 years, but I'm a native from Syracuse, New York. I've lived in Syracuse for years, Rochester, and then 25 years I lived down in Westchester County. And then 2 years ago, found my wife and myself found ourselves in Delaware, which is fine.
Are you still you working away, or are you more in a semi-retired mode in your
kind of in a semi-retired? In my working life, I was involved with digital imaging, digital photography, digital printing hardware, that kind of business, which I love doing that.
Very, very cool, and certainly something that has just expanded and expanded over the years as well. It's never been more relevant than now, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How about horses? When did they come into the picture for you?
Well, my whole life, I was certainly growing up. My parents were not gamblers or horse players, but they were Triple Crown fans for sure. So I can see us all in front of the TV watching Triple Crown races. And the big memory for me, a lot of people, was, 1973, Belmont with Secretariat. I'll never forget that. And so that was always in the background, never active. But then when I got to college, I had a few friends from Schenectady who would go to Saratoga.
Okay. I see where this is going.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to Saratoga, which was great fun. But I have to say, I knew horse racing. I mean, I knew it on the surface, and I enjoyed the social element and all that. But it was in the back of my mind. I always followed it myself, the Triple Crown and everything, but I didn't really decide to pay closer attention and try to learn more until maybe, I don't know, even 15 years ago. Something clicked. I said, I gotta get smarter on this. So I started reading the books, and then the podcast stuff started popping, like the stuff you do, and the winning contest player, of course. All those kind of things was great fun learning and trying to get better, trying to get a little smarter, and so here we are today. So.
That's excellent. Now, what do you think changed? That's interesting. There must have been some impetus that made you want to get better. Was it contests themselves, or was it just looking for a new hobby? I'm just curious to drill down on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big sports fan in general and stuff, and not a sports bettor at all. Never was interested in that. But there was something about the puzzle. This is nothing new for you, but something about being introduced to it, trying to understand all the vocabulary that goes along with horse racing, and the differences between a maiden special and a maiden claimer, all those things. Like, what is this? And then you sort it out and just try to understand the math behind it a little bit, and the probability. Even though I'm certainly an amateur at all that, but that was intriguing to me. So it was partly a new hobby, and plus it's exciting. I mean, when you're there in person, it's fantastic, as you know.
Great sport, great gambling game when it all comes together. What's been your experience in contests to this point?
Well, I dabble a little bit. Nothing big, nothing crazy. I I do play the Horseplayer Happy Hour. I do try to. It's been a goal the last few years to try to win one of these things and advance and get a BCBC seat. I came really close once. I can tell you about that if you like. But so it's mostly that. Like, we talked about Saratoga. I do enjoy the low rollers contest. Came in second one time. That was a minor victory.
That's
I
great.
play the Naira $300 ones on weekends fairly often. Nothing, no big success to write about. I came in second or third once, top 10 once or twice, that kind of thing. But it's fun to do.
I want to ask you about Breeders' Cup, a betting memory, or you can relate it to your experience at Horseplayer Happy Hour, however you want to field that one. But we got to get that story from you.
Well, I don't have any big Breeder Cup score to talk about, but this was April 2021, and if my memory serves, it's when you first started the Horseplayer Happy Hour. And I want to say it was the first Thursday that you had. It was in early April, and I managed to finish in the top 12 or 15 or whatever it was that got you a seat on a Saturday qualifier. So I did that, and that Saturday qualifier happened to be a live event as opposed to pick and pray. But I knew I was going to be away that day, so in the morning I had to play it like a pick and pray.
Right.
So I put all my picks in, and then later that afternoon I get home. I said, well, I got to see how I did, where I'm at. I turn on the computer. I'm in second place with, I think, 2 races to go. And then with 1 race to go, I'm in first place by, I have maybe $1.50 lead. And I'm like shaking. I can't believe this. So the last race, I remember the favorite was a Chad Brown horse at the time. Stage Raider was his name, ridden by a Rat Ortiz. And in the morning I considered him, but I didn't want to play the favorite in the last. And it turns out there were many people that could have won. So I believe it was like $1.50 lead. Because it was live, I said, I can change my pick. And I said, I can't change. All day I wasn't there messing with him. I got to leave what I had. I had the number 8 horse at Senior Network who didn't run that day. And I got the guy behind me had a horse named Harvard. He got place money, and I ended up losing by $1.50, I think.
Oh,
so
rough.
that was for the $10,000 seat. That's the closest I've come. That's my, I guess, a bad beat story, maybe. I don't know, but
the closest you've come until today, maybe. Yeah, until today, maybe. And yeah, that would have been the first proper. We did start during the pandemic, but those shows were more just loosey-goosey, giving Matt and JK and me an excuse to hang out as much as anything. That would have been probably the very first contest that we did on here. We'll see how you make out today, my friend. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Oh, Pete, thanks very much.
Great stuff there from John. Really fun opportunity to get to meet him. Seeing a lot of people watching live and in the comments. Appreciate you. Pina and Leo, who's a Derma Sodagake fan, which I appreciate. I think there's a story to be told there. Wish he hadn't missed that prep race, though. And our old stalwart, Richard, as well, in the comments. He's been a real joy to have with us for a lot of these Horseplayer Happy Hours. We are chock-a-block with guests, folks, and we're going to get right to our next final table list. We'll be checking in on the leaderboard soon enough. But here is Kevin Nunes. Very happy next up to welcome to the program a horse player I'm very excited to get to know a little bit more about. Another one of our final table lists, Kevin Nunes. Kevin, what's going on, my man?
Not much, Peter. Just here, living life, hoping to make that BCBC. So let's see what happens.
Have you played in it before?
No, never. It's a dream of mine to make it, and I'm from California, so it'd be great if I can make it out there.
Little bit of a home game for you potentially. Let's ask those basic questions right away. How old are you? Where are you from exactly in California? And what do you do for a living?
So right now I'm 29 years old. I've been playing the horses since I can remember, since I was a youngin'. I'm from Stockton, California, so out here in the San Joaquin Valley.
Okay.
Rest in peace to the Stockton Fair and the racing out here. Sad news, but it is what it is. And as for work, I'm a auto body estimator or cost estimator. So I work for Tracy Collision, and we do like high-end repairs on vehicles.
Very cool. Very cool. So
Yeah.
how often do you get down to Southern California for racing? I mean, have you been to Santa Anita?
I try to make it out at least a couple times a year. It's very hard with 3 little ones. I work for a mom and pop shop, so I don't have a ton of vacation time, and being the main provider for the household, can't miss too many days of work.
No.
It is what it is, but it's 6-hour drive down south and we're at Santa Anita. So I try to get there as much as I can.
How old are the kids? Have you taken them racing yet?
Oh yeah, they've been to Santa Anita, Golden Gate. Haven't hit Del Mar yet. Trying to hit there.
That's a good one for kids.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Been to the state fair.
The pool time,
Yeah, been to the state fair. Wasn't able to make it to Del Mar, so that's a sad one. But they are. The youngest is 2. He's a boy. His name's Elias. The middle one is 6. Her name's Camila, and then a 7-year-old Evelyn.
Oh, it sounds like a fun group, man, and
yeah.
I'm excited for the idea of getting you and the whole crew to Del Mar. I think everyone will dig that for sure. So I'm guessing, since you said you've been going since you were a wee one, that you have an older relative of some stripe that took you to the races when you were that age. Am I right in that assumption? And who is the relative?
Yeah, it's I'm sure this is a lot of people's story. It's my father, my dad. I'm lucky to still have him around, and over here at have you been to the Stockton Fairgrounds where the track
I haven't. I mean, I know about it, but I've not met then.
Okay. Well, next to it, there's a sports emporium. It's called Winners. So they do the simulcasting there. So I remember going there 6, 7 years old. I couldn't enter at the time, but as degenerates do, they find ways to. I remember sitting out in the bench in the front, and I'm friends with all the securities. They'd watch me, and my dad would sneak me the program through the fence, and I'd watch the TVs from the monitors on the outside of the gate. And, oh, son, which one do you want? He'd sneak the program through. I'd tell him which one I want. He'd make the quick bet and bring me back my tickets. And I've been hooked since then. And me and my brother would go, and he hasn't been hooked onto it like I have, but one of us has to keep it going.
That's great. Oh, that's so cool. I love that story. Do you have a Breeders' Cup specific betting memory? I've been meaning to ask everybody about that. Is there one Breeders' Cup bet in particular that stands out to you? Could be positive, could be negative from the years you've been paying attention, which have clearly been a number of them.
So there's a couple, but the main one, well, my best score is probably that stays in my mind that helps me keep this Breeders' Cup remembering is I connected the pick 3 that had work all week and Texas Red in it. And yeah, right. I'm a college student, hitting what was it, like a $1,300 50-cent pick 3 a couple times, that gets you going. So I can't quite remember the turf force that won in between both of them.
Would it have been Caraconte? Would it have been Caraconte maybe? Is that possible?
No, I think it was the year Telescope was the favorite in there, and it was a Grand Motion Turf Force Mac.
Main sequence. Is that possible?
Main sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I connected the 3, and boy, I was at Santa Cruz at the time in college, and my dorm was shaking.
Oh, that's great. And I'll tell you what, if you ever get stuck in an elevator with Matt Bernier, you've got something to talk about, because Matt was all over Texas Red and work all week. He ran like 7th in the BCBC that year. That's terrific stuff. Well, have you looked? I feel like nobody who doesn't work in, if you don't work in horse racing, you have not looked at the Breeders' Cup yet, but I'm just curious to throw it out there just in case. Do you have any leans yet? Any horses? Maybe I'll ask it this way, not so much from a betting point of view, but as a racing fan, which you also clearly are, any horses you're particularly looking forward to seeing this year?
Quite honestly, not one that sticks out. I know Cody's Wish is a big one, that most people want to see come through. And I've listened to a couple of your shows, and, hearing that he might be vulnerable, but I know that's a big one that, a lot of people are wanting to see pull through. Me personally, there's not one specific horse or fan favorite that I have this year that I'm just kind of like, just want to get them across the finish line. As far as like one strong point or one thing that I'm going to be using on the day is, I believe I'm going to be betting against Locked. His last effort, I believe he just had to run so hard. I think a bounce may be in the works for him.
I can see it.
I think that's one strong one that I'm going to go through, because I know you and JK
like improving, but I I definitely understand what you mean. When they run that well from out of position, it could sort of go either way. So we'll see. You and I will probably end up oppo on that one, but I definitely hear where you're coming from. If I lose, at least I'll know that you have won. So that's a good thing as far as that goes. What about your contests in general? How often are you very active online player? What else are some of your contest highlights?
To be honest, this is probably my peak highlight. I'm trying to get more active in the contest scene, doing the happy hour tours and being on horse tourneys. I've gotten a couple feeders into the BCBC qualifiers, and I don't do too well in those, for the large pool ones, the large ratios. So I would say, this one, I really try to focus this year on making it through the happy hour tour. I just figured that the odds were in my favor to try to make it to the final table. And then the format that you guys use about, you just got to beat 50% of the field 3 times to make it to the final table. That's the way I looked at it. So, I figured now's the time to take the big shots, and because you got to beat 1 out of 10, it's not 50% anymore.
Yeah, top 10% is definitely different than top 50. So, but you appreciate that. We love having you. We hope you'll come back and join us. What about data that you use for handicapping the races? I'm taking a wild guess that you might be a little bit old school from the way you came into the game, and you might be a DRF pen and paper guy. I don't know, but you're also young, so maybe you're more of a computer guy. What do you use to pick all the winners you've had this year on the Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour?
To be honest, it just depends on the day that, if I'm at Winners or if I'm in person, I'll buy the form and I'll look through it. I'll still spend the $20 or whatever it is to get the premium pack. That's just how I grew up, going to the simulcasting room. My dad and all his friends, they just have the book, pen and paper there. But I mainly bet through TVG, so I use a lot of their information that they have as far as the pedigree, workout, stuff like that, race replays. So I kind of use a combination of everything. There's not one set method that I kind of stick to as far as to pick winners.
Whatever you're doing, it's working, at least as far as the Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour goes. Kevin, great getting to meet you. We'll be watching with great interest. If you make it down there to the Breeders' Cup, I'd love to get a chance to meet up and chat with you more. Really enjoyed your visit today. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Likewise, Peter.
All right. I really like Kevin. What a cool dude. What a great story he has. Like so many of the players, really, really pleased. What a great final table. We've got some veteran types. We've got 2 female players, which is really cool. I think 4 players in their 20s. And that's what this is all about. And that's something I'm going to use to, explain to other people in the industry when we try to pump this up and do even more with it next year, what I think this Horseplayer Happy Hour can be. And boy, we've got it going in the content today. A lot of Japanese support. It sounds like Marcos chiming in with support of Ushba Tesoro. We're hearing from Renata, who's excited to get to Santa Anita. Ahmed is out there as well and asking about Japanese. Well, participation, I think we know there's going to be 5 or 6. How are they going to do? We'll find out. Songline is one that I know I want. Let's do a quick leaderboard look, and let's do one, and then the other is how we're going to do that. So this is the final table. These are the folks that we've been talking to, and you can see Mike Cavana up there, but Michael Domo in right behind. The Michaels are turning this into a match race, but with 5 races left to go, and we're going to be here on air for all of them, a chance for that to change around. Let's also take a quick look right now, Craig, if you don't mind, at our other, there's another leaderboard. Actually, it's for a qualifier, Craig. We've got, at the same time as we have our final table going, we have a qualifier open to the public. You should be able to find it on there, I hope. Yeah, I think that's it. We got 100 players, and look at that. Greg Kingma, a former Horseplayer Happy Hour champion, right now in the lead. That would be great to see him. A lot of big contest names. That's terrific. 100 names participating in that today. But I want to try to get one more video in before we get to our first live scheduled race. And we've been really happy to be working with our old friends at the place with the letters we affectionately call Daily Racing Form around here. This is also a sneak peek at videos of this type. Our monster pods are going to be dropping 14 Breeders' Cup races, 14 great guests. You can listen on audio inthemoneypodcast.com or In the Money Media, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also see these individually on our YouTube channel, which many of you I know are watching now if you're not watching on social. But let's go right now to a little sample of a Monster Pod video with our great friend, Dan Illman. Next up, I get to chat with one of my own personal favorite handicappers, a guy that I have much to bond over, including our incredible respect for my friend and mentor, and a friend of mentors his as well, the great Harvey Pack. We now bring in from Daily Racing Form, Dan Illman. Dan, how are things?
Doing great, Pete. Always great to talk to you.
Well, we're here to talk about the Breeders' Cup Juvenile specifically. But before we dive into that race, I want to give you a chance to talk about some of the stuff that Daily Racing Form has coming up. I know there's a lot of great content already coming at drf.com, more coming down the video side of things. What should people be on the lookout for?
Well, that's for the video side of things. The team will be out at Santa Anita. We'll be doing previews, and with all of the talent that DRF has, a slew of handicappers, whether it's Brad Free and David Aragona, Andy Beyer will be doing a webinar, myself, Mike Beer, Steve Anderson, Marcus Hirsch. Everybody is on board, of course, for the Breeders' Cup. We'll have some great video handicapping previews. And, of course, on drf.com, we'll be covering the races, race advances, race recaps, all the latest news and notes.
Very, very cool. And you're doing the BC Advance again this year as well?
I'm pretty sure we're doing the BC Advance, at least online. I've got to think we're doing it probably in print.
Excellent, excellent. A lot of great information in there, and it's all going to be coming fast and furious. These pre-entries are going to arrive. We're going to have past performances, and then boom, for the serious horse players, there's not much else cooking besides that for the next 10 days, as well as the daily action, of course. But, you know, in terms of the big picture of life, Breeders' Cup definitely taking center stage. I threw it open to you which race you wanted to talk about today, and without hesitation, you picked the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. What, for you, makes this such an interesting contest?
Well, it's a great regional matchup, isn't it? We've got two nice ones from the East Coast and two nice ones from the West. From the East, we've got Locked and we've got Timberlake, and I think they're both very good. And on the West, well, it's Bob Baffert's world out there. We've got the $2 million trainee Muth, and we've got Prince of Monaco's kind of unexposed, isn't he? He's undefeated, but he missed his last prep. Baffert gave him a lot of time since he won the Del Mar Futurity, and he's kind of the other Baffert. And how many times have we seen that in major races in Southern California? They look like the main protagonists in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but a pretty nice supporting cast as well.
Yeah, when I was looking at this race, I just kept coming back to this big four, and I had the theory that because of divided loyalties of race goers, handicappers between those four, you might see a decent priced favorite in this race. I mean, do you really see this as pretty much of a four-way vibe between those two, or do you ultimately lean one way or another when assessing?
I'm going to lean towards the East Coast horses, and it's not the East Coast bias that a lot of fans like to complain that us handicappers have that are based here on the East Coast. I just like what I've seen from both Locked and Timberlake, and I guess of the two, Timberlake might offer a slightly more value because handicappers might downgrade his win in the Champagne, A, over a sloppy track, B, around a one-turn mile. Now he's going to have to stretch out 2 turns over a fast track, but I'm really not worried about distance. I think his dam was a true stayer overseas, one of something like 14 furlongs, and this horse has run well on fast dirt in the past. My concern with Timberlake is that he's not really the kind of horse that breaks great out of the gate. He's kind of got to get himself into position, but I just think he's learning. And as for Locked, his 2 races were very, very impressive. From Saratoga, the maiden win going the mile out of the chute was just a blowout performance. And last time out in the Breeders' Futurity, wide trip, what impressed me the most, Pete, was that his first thrust was parried by that little street fighter, the wine steward, the New York bred. And he had every reason to just run second after that, but he just refused to lose. I have a feeling he's a pretty special horse that's going to want to go long as well.
I'm easily sold on him. I just think that the toughness is there, the improvement is there. My question for you about Timberlake, I guess I am holding, I'm not necessarily willing to take the Champagne literally because of the surface. And I keep looking back to that hopeful. And, I know he had the horrible, horrible trip, but it was just so slow that I'm finding myself having a little bit of trouble fully embracing Timberlake. Talk me out of it.
I think a lot of folks are having trouble with the hopeful. You look at that race, and no knock against Nutella Fella, who's unfortunately been battling some foot issues. Looks like he won't make the Breeders' Cup. That horse ran very well in the hopeful, but you're right. The Buyer's speed figure came back dreadfully slow, and there were just some notable no-shows in that race. But the way I'm looking at it is I'm just going to draw a line through it. I just have a feeling that was one of those weird races where things happened, a long shot won. I'm just not that interested in the race. Plus, Timberlake was wearing blinkers that day. They took the blinkers off for the Champagne. He seemed a lot more comfortable in the early portion. Maybe it was the wet track. I'd like to think that without the blinkers, maybe he relaxed a little bit more going the extra distance. So for me, the Hopeful is just kind of a throwout race. I think there were a couple of no-shows. Some of those horses have come back and have run just fine. So I'm not really that worried.
I think you make a compelling case not to get too worried about that when we have an important bit of form since. It feels like you've already, am I right that you're a little bit maybe leaning towards Muth as opposed to Prince of Monaco in terms of the Southern California form, or are you still sort of trying to separate those two?
I'm kind of up in the air. Muth did win around 2 turns last time out. I know he beat sort of the other Baffert in this race, but that race just did not look very strong on paper. I did like the way Muth showed the ability to rate, which was a bit concerning going 2 turns. Maybe he was going to be a speedball. That was not the case. I wonder if that was kind of his Breeders' Cup, though. I'm just going back to the undefeated Baffert horse, Prince of Monaco, and I'm thinking to myself, his race was very workmanlike, wasn't it, in the Del Mar Futurity? It was a race where he was something like 1-20. He didn't win like a 1-20 shot. The horse he beat is, of course, another Baffert horse, Miramati, who is still a maiden and hasn't been seen since. But I just like the fact. I think a lot of folks don't like the fact that Baffert skipped the American Pharaoh with this horse. I like it. I think he wanted to give this horse another month to mature, and perhaps he is more physically mature now and is ready for a breakout performance. It's probably going to all come down to price for me between those two, and it might be a toss-up even there.
Outside of this quartet that you and I are both focusing on, is there one or two in particular you think are worth putting forward, maybe to either separate those or even pull the upset in the juvenile?
We have to talk about the Japanese raider, don't we, Pete? Koro Neo, who is still a maiden after 2 lifetime starts, simply because the Japanese have had such great success on the international stage in recent years. And this is a kind of odd pedigree. It's turfy on the bottom, but he's by Bernardini, one of those just notorious stallions whose progeny just don't seem to handle turf at all. And this horse debuted on turf and did nothing. And I watched his last race. They cut him all the way back to 6 furlongs at Hanshin, and he closed like man of war in the stretch. He must have made up something like 15 lengths. It was a remarkable run from a horse that was just completely out sprinted. I have no idea what he was in against that day, but he at least showed he could handle dirt, and he was flying at the end. The concern is that running style really going to work at Santa Anita, especially if he's run off his feet early? But simply because he's here, he showed some life. We've seen the Japanese horses run well, and he's bred for 2 turns, makes him somewhat interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you're still going to be dealing with just an absolutely massive price, despite all the success that the Japanese have had on the world stage. One other that I wanted to ask you about in particular, a horse that Jonathan, when we talked about this race, was interested in almost as much as the top 4. To him, it's not a 4, it's a 5 at the top, with General Partner being the other horse. I think it's a little bit interesting at a price, but I was just curious to get somebody else's perspective on General Partner and how serious of a contender he might be for this.
Well, he's a serious contender if you believe he can get loose on the lead. And I think that's a chance in there, because I'm not sure they really want to go all out with Muth early, especially after he showed that he could rate. And Prince of Monaco seems like a very rateable type as well. Locked, we know, is sort of a mid-pack runner. And I think, as I mentioned, Timberlake, not great from the gate. He's more of a stalker. There is a good chance that this horse can get to the lead. I really liked what I saw when he graduated, going 7 furlongs at Saratoga. And last time out, I don't mind Manny Franco, what he tried to do there. He tried to slip away through a very quick third quarter on the lead. He opened it up, and he just got run down by Timberlake. Perhaps he's simply better over fast going. I'm a little bit curious, as a Speightstown out of a distorted humor mare, how far he wants to go against grade 1 competition at this point, but nothing wrong with betting a speed horse at a price. He could be the 5th choice in here.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Any other thoughts? Anybody else you want to pull in here for a quick mention before I let you get back to your workday, Dan? Again, really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come join us here.
What do you do with fierceness, Pete? I'm more interested in your opinion on this horse, because he was so impressive, breaking his maiden first time out for Todd Pletcher over a wet track. And then he shows up in the Champagne. He's odds on over a wet track. He doesn't break well. He's wide. Maybe it wasn't the ideal trip. He didn't pick his feet up. He was bad. I think the fact that Todd's here is a pretty good sign.
It's interesting. I did think that there might have been some flow aided stuff in the big number 2 back. That race was really run to suit. He might have been on the right part of a racetrack too. So I just can't support coming off something so bad. Now, having said that, this is the kind of horse who, especially as a price, if we get to clap eyes on during the week and is clearly training way better, I'm not going to be stubborn about this. But from where I sit now, I think in a deep and competitive running of this race, I have to be leaving that one on the outside looking in.
I think it's probably a good point. Leave it down to price. I mean, if he is dismissed at something like 15 or 20 to 1, considering that he has shown some speed, he at least could prove a nuisance to general partner early and maybe set things up for other horses. But, kind of in Todd, I trust has always been a good angle over the years. This horse has shown some ability. He's still a little bit unexposed. I mean, we are on the happy hour and we have to talk about the Wine Steward and Wine Me Up, don't we? I mean, the Wine Steward, I really love it. He's a gritty little guy, isn't he? I mean, while Locke, he had such a much of a better trip than Locke did last time out in the Breeders' Retreat. He tracked the pace from the pocket after breaking from the rail, but boy, he gave it his all. He was belly low the last 16th of a mile, and Locke just beat him. And while I really like this horse as a horse, I have a feeling that's the very best he can do, and he might have to do better.
I think that's a fair assessment, but I mean, it's absolutely the kind of horse that will have some big prizes, I think, by his name at some stage, whether it's in the New York bred ranks or here. And yes, so that would have been an epic host fail if I didn't get the mention of the alcohol horse or alcohol horses in the juvenile here on Horseplayer Happy Hour. And also, we're going to use this for double duty on our Monster Pod as well. It's great to have you here, Dan. Look forward to seeing you out in Santa Anita, and Godspeed, my friend.
Hey, it's always great talking to you, and good luck to everybody in the BC.
We've got so much content. We're not going to be able to show the races live like we usually do. We'll try to get to as many as we can, but we're not going to worry about that. I think for most of you, this is a second screen experience anyway. They did just hit the wire at Keeneland. We're going to have leaderboard updates along the way, but we have a very special guest up next because this is our third ever Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour champion. As you know, we give away 2 seats to the BCBC, 20,000 added in these contests, no cost to players. One of them will be awarded at the end of this show. The other went to this man, Jeff Van Dre. Next up, a man who's already won his Breeders' Cup betting challenge seat by being victorious on this year's season-long Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour. Jeff Van Dre, welcome to the airwaves. How are things and how did you do it?
Oh, well, things are great. Just enjoying some sun here in Arizona. Basking in the glory of the D-backs win last night. So,
that was big.
Yeah, so looking forward to that, the World Series, and of course the Breeders' Cup coming up here in a couple of weeks. So anxious to get started on that once things start coming out a little bit later today.
I love it. What was your path to victory? How many big weeks did you have? Give us a little bit of insight into what it took.
Well, I had really it was one big week in the happy hour where it was the Kentucky Downs week, and I remember it was the 5 horse. I don't remember the name of the horse, but it was one that Declan Cannon was riding. And I had that on 2 entries, and I think it was a capper or close to a capper. So that got me a second and a third, which kind of
a lot of points.
Yeah, it was a lot of points. So that put me up there, and I was able to hang on until the very end, which I was definitely sweating at that last week. That was tight.
There was, somebody, I can't remember who it was, who had a couple up there and was looking to pip you right on the wire. But
yeah. I had guys texting me, and they were keeping me abreast of the running tally on the points. And I didn't really want to look because I kind of hate to do that and jinx myself, but I knew it was going to be pretty tough. I wanted to get something in the top 10, but it didn't really work that way. And fortunately, we got to the last race, and I had him blocked. So we both had a bomb. So even if that hit, I think if that hit, I would have still won by 10, I believe. So it was pretty tight.
How long have you been playing in our Horseplayer Happy Hour games for?
I started playing last year. someone, buddy of mine introduced me to it, and I've been playing a lot of NHC stuff over the last few years and hadn't really focused much on Breeders' Cup. But then when that popped up, I took a few shots last year, but this was the first year I played it seriously from beginning to end.
Well, I'm glad you did, and I'm sure you're glad you did as well. It's a fun
definitely.
format, and it's great. I love the season-long competition where you don't have to risk the arm and the leg, and definitely though the NHC and the BCBC, that's sort of the 1 and 1A of big contests
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
the year. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. You live in Arizona, obviously.
I do,
Baseball
yeah.
fan, obviously, but give me, how old are you and what do you do for a living?
I am 53. I'm retired. I'm originally from Michigan, and I was fortunate enough back in 2007 to sell a business that I was a partner in. So that brought me down to Arizona, and since then I've just been playing ponies and trying to enjoy life. So
love it. Where in the state are you?
I am in a little town called Carefree. It's basically North Scottsdale. So it's about as far north as you can get in Phoenix Metro.
I make my annual trip there for Tucson. I love that the RTIP conference is always great. And years ago, I was visiting a client in Tempe when I was in the book editing game and got to go to a couple of Diamondbacks games. It was a really fun stadium. I really enjoyed it. Do you get to the ballpark much?
I do, maybe only 2 games a year, roughly. I don't get down as often as I would like, but I'm hoping to get to a game next week. We'll see. The only day I'm going to Pebble Beach over the weekend, and then I'm back for 1 day, so I might have a window on Wednesday to get to the game before I leave for Santa Anita. So
tell me about your handicapping methodology. What kind of data do you like to use?
Well, I use predominantly I'm using optics and formulator.
Yeah.
So I dabble in a few other things now and then, but those are the 2 that have been kind of my old standby over the last 3 years.
It's a good double whammy with those 2. How about Breeders' Cup betting memory from the past, from any of the ones you've witnessed? And if not a betting memory, maybe just a performance that you associate.
Unfortunately, I don't have any great betting memories from Breeders' Cup because I always seem to lose. I tend to go there, and I'm spending too much time with the guys and enjoying cocktails and the races that the handicapping. No matter how much time I put into it, I never seem to connect on it. But hopefully that changes this year. It's going to be a different game since it's the first time I played in the BCBC. So I got to come up with a better method than what I've done in the past.
Well, you've got time to work on it and get yourself organized. One last question for you that I wanted to ask. You have any specific idea you're going to put into place to turn that around? I mean, like when you think about this BCBC, are you going to go and bet like you normally bet, but with a little bit more of a goal, or are you going there to win the thing?
I'm going there to try to win the thing, of course. It's unfortunately it's not my strong suit. I'm quite good at the NHC style contest, but when it comes to putting tickets together, it's a little bit of a new ball game for me as far as at this level. So I'm trying to get my head wrapped around betting at the level I'll be betting during the BCBC, and I've been sketching out some plans as far as strategy. I've got 2 entries, fortunately, so trying to figure out how to play those 2 and at least walk away with some money if I can't win the thing. So so we'll have to see how it goes.
All right. Well, Godspeed out there. Look forward to meeting you in person at the Great Race Place. And thanks so much for supporting us. And we'll see you on the leaderboard.
All right. I hope so. Thank you.
There is your Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour champion, Jeff Van Dre. That was a fun catch up as well. We'll actually get to this next race at Belmont at Aqueduct. But before we do that, Craig, if you don't mind, let's go back to that leaderboard. We'll do a little update after that last race, see if anything's gotten shaken up in either one. When last we saw in this qualifier, it was Greg Kingma, and the rich get richer, it looks like there. He over 100, Pat Gianforte right in behind. All to play for there with 4 races left to go. what about if we go to our happy hour? Let's see what's shaking there. We do have a shakeup in this battle of the Michaels at the top of the leaderboard with Michael Domo now putting a nose in front, having that 2-horse that won at Keeneland. I imagine he was doing some fist pumping. He's up to 84-44. We're going to be hearing from him a little bit later in the show. It's starting to look like a match between the Michaels, but depending on the prices, and I can't multitask well enough to go through. One great thing about the Horseplayers website, you can see who everybody took. So you'll know. I mean, if there's a chance you're drawing live, there's a chance you're drawing dead if you're not in those top 2. But we're getting ready now. They're loading right on time at Aqueduct, and there's some big prices on the board that could shake things up. So I'm going to go ahead and just say it right now. I think it's pretty much all to play for in both of these contests. And very soon here at Belmont at the Big A, we are going to send it out to the call. I'll tell you this, Craig, something I didn't notice, people for the sausage, learning how the sausage is made. There is a little progress bar under those videos that are playing. It's annoying. It doesn't give like a seconds countdown, but you can kind of see when the videos are coming back. Just to, file that under. You learn something every day as this big field here at Belmont at the Big A continues to load. More support for Derma Sotogake in the comments. If the market was our comment people, the horse would be odds on. Let's send it out to Belmont at the Big A.
And they're off. A bit of a bobble there at the start for number 4, a clear conscience. Dr. Marbus was off slowly as well and is at the back of the pack. Spiritual King is out first. And then it is Indian Mischief. In between horses is Laurel Valley. On the outside is Kingdom on Pause, who's now moving up as the field races into the turn. And it is Spiritual King who has the lead here. Spiritual King by a little more than a length. And then comes Indian Mischief, who's racing in second. Kingdom on Pause running in third. Laurel Valley down towards the inside and next in fourth. Then Lachey's in fifth, followed by Gem Min 10 in sixth. Timbuktu is running in seventh position. Then down on the inside is Clear Conscience, who's in eighth. And in between horses there is One Headlight. Farther back of the field is Dr. Marbus, 1/2 mile and 47 seconds. Spiritual King, the leader, by a length and a quarter, with Indian Mischief in second by a length. Kingdom on Pause is in third, followed by Laurel Valley running in fourth. Gem Min 10 advancing a bit down at the rail in fifth. Lachey's in between horses. Timbuktu's on the far outside. And then comes a One Headlight, who's now making up some ground, followed by Clear Conscience. As they go around the far turn, 3/4 up in 111 and 3. And now it is Indian Mischief with a narrow lead. Timbuktu's on the extreme outside. Kingdom on Pause is there. Laurel Valley's in behind horses, is going to need some racing room. One Headlight is on the far outside. And now here comes Timbuktu up to challenge Indian Mischief as One Headlight continues to gain ground. It is Timbuktu. One Headlight driving up on the outside. Timbuktu and One Headlight, and the two of them will fight it out to the finish. Timbuktu by a head over One Headlight.
Looks like place points for Michael Domo there with One Headlight. Nearly gets there. Didn't even get a chance to mention, I had a runner in that race, my friends, out of Delphi Racing. We had Gem Min 10, who did not finish with the kick that we were hoping. I barely got a chance to see the trip early in the race. But anyway, it's been a fun experience with him. Nearly got us a win up at Saratoga for our friends at Adelphi. So we will we'll just take a minute here. We're going to take a very deep breath. We have a question from Richard about Auguste Rodin. I mean, boy, if he runs his A race, aren't they all running for second? I mean, it ain't going to be easy, not with the likes of Ernesto and Mostadov in there. But I mean, Auguste Rodin certainly makes a whole lot of sense. I don't know if JK is pro or anti Richard, so I don't know about the side bet. We'll have to get that figured out on a different show. Yet more support for Derma Sotogake here. Pretty amazing stuff. All right, so let's look at our overall schedule, Craig, and figure out what we are meant to do next. We have a nice little break here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to back with a couple of different interviews. And next up, very exciting, young horse player. She's gotten involved in the industry, and I've had the pleasure of meeting her at one of the EquestriCon conferences and also at the Preakness this year. And she's just fantastic, and I'm sure you're going to like her as much as I do. She is Alexa Zepp. Next up, we have a horse player who I have approached unsuccessfully before to get her on these airwaves. Thrilled to have her with us now here at the final table. Alexa Zepp, how are things?
Pretty good, pretty good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Was this your first year playing in the Horseplayer Happy Hour events?
I think so. I might have played a few here and there, but I didn't play that many this year either. So, yeah.
How did you make your way to the final table? What was your journey like? Were you one of the people who got in by finishing top 2 1 week as opposed to the tour?
Yes. I'm not actually sure if I played more than that one time. I was trying to think back because I took a little bit of a break from tournaments a lot of this year, and then just started hopping back in the last month or two. And I played 1 or 2, and I got second in 1. So.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you, and I'm glad you wended your way through to the final table. We have a chance to talk about racing at various times, but I want you to give a little bit about your background and how you got involved in horse racing in general.
Yeah, so I was actually introduced to horse racing through tournaments as a +1 at tournaments. That's my first exposure to horse racing. So I've always been a tournament player. After probably about a year of attending as a +1, I was like, I want to do this. I want to learn this. This is fun. I don't want to just sit here. I want to learn it. So I started learning it, and I'm just naturally very, very competitive. So
I like it.
Yeah, it fit me well, and I'm very social too. So I'm really drawn to the tournaments because it just feeds all of that. That's how I got involved in racing, and since then I've done a lot in racing. My whole life is racing now. So I have my own racing syndicate. My day job, I work for the Daily Racing Forum. I'm involved in the Horse Racing Women's Summit. So I do lots of racing stuff. I just moved to Lexington so I can be here.
Oh, that's wild. And I love the idea that tournaments were the impetus in an industry where a lot of people, both on the gambling side and certainly on the industry side, people are born into this. So I love the perspective you must bring as a little bit more of an outsider, and obviously a younger person. That's extremely valuable for the game as a whole. You mentioned those 3 things. Let's go through them point by point, starting with your racing syndicate. What can you tell us about that?
Yes. So my racing syndicate is called Haphazard Racing Inc. It started with me and my good friend Ryan Dickey. We just wanted to breed someone to Bucaro. And so we went to find a broodmare that would match perfectly. And Blake Courtney helped with all the data and statistics, which is the foundation of my handicapping, to find the perfect broodmare. And so that's how the journey started. And so then I got exposure to the breeding side of the world. I already had an experience in a syndicate owning, and that was like the most exciting thing ever for me, like watching your own horse win. There's like so much pride and joy, and awesome. It's awesome. So after about like a year and a half, maybe 2 years of learning the breeding side of the game, like finding my team, my farms that I really like to work with, I decided I wanted to expand it to a syndicate so I could bring other people that excitement and that opportunity. So it's been great. We have 1 foal by Yorkton, and we have 1 racing. And right now we're looking at getting a claiming horse this fall, and also a horse of racing age at the sales. So I'm filling partnerships for those. So.
I love it. And I think that's a wise approach, bringing, some of the harder data into things as well, that I think, some people are certainly doing in the breeding industry side of things, but I think it's still something that maybe is a little bit underappreciated by the industry as a whole.
The industry really doesn't, of course there's data points, but a lot of it is families who've been doing it a really long time, who you work with. So my approach is totally data driven, like down to the trainer. I don't use the same trainer for every horse. I look at which trainer statistically will have the most success. And by success, I mean bring in the most money with this horse, and where at, what circuit, what distance, what service. So that drives everything. And there's a lot of value there that is being missed.
We'll get back to a data question for you at the end of the interview, but I want to continue on down the line. What is your current role for DRF? We're actually sponsors of today's show.
Woo! Yeah, I'm a quality assurance analyst at DRF. So basically, I work with Scott Carson and I make sure that the formulator, time form has been one of our big things lately, rolling out time form. Make sure it works and it looks good and it's the best product you can get. So
I do love it. We talk about it all the time, even when they're not sponsoring the shows. And the QA work is essential to keeping it up there at the bleeding edge. You also mentioned the Women's Summit, which man, I've been dying to get to these first 2 years. I've had conflicts, but just curious to get a quick word on your experience out there.
Oh my gosh, the Women's Summit has been the most amazing experience. I am so thankful that Stephanie Hronis brought me on. I met her in January when I attended one of their pop-up events at Pegasus. And we just really connected and she brought me on. So I've been on the sponsorship team, getting, different sponsors because it's all volunteer, fully sponsored event. And our goal is to just get women engaged and invested in innovating in racing. So this year was the second year we had it. I was not there the first year, but it was a wonderful event. It was at Santa Anita in September, the end of September. This summer's gone by.
When I know it.
Yeah, was it just a month ago? Yeah, it was just a month ago. But it was awesome. We had it was a 3-day event with a welcome event the first evening and then a full day of wonderful panels. We had a keynote speaker, Reagan Cannon, who's amazing. And then we had 3 different panels with a ton of really awesome women in racing from all different sides. We had veterinary, we had, regulatory, all sorts of things. So it was really great. And then Friday we had an event in the morning and then we could spend the day at the races with people. So it was really empowering for women. I helped some women learn how to handicap,
Awesome.
Which is really fun because it does empower people. Like, they're like, I just picked my favorite number. And now that I actually know how to read this, like, I feel like excited. And I'm like, yay, because we need more women and we need more young people. So
100%, right. Yeah. And, we need to have you on for a longer visit because I could talk to you for an hour easy about just the stuff, just pulling at the threads of things you've already mentioned. We don't have that time here, so we'll get to a couple more high level questions before I let you get out of here. For now, you will be bothered again in the future, but it sounds like obviously you've got this data background. You're obviously also interested in using more traditional and modern but rooted in traditional handicapping products like DRF and Timeform. At this point, how would you describe your own methodology? How much of it is looking at pure data like from a computer model designed to do this kind of stuff, and how much of it is looking at a little bit more of the traditional horse playing tools like DRF and Timeform?
I would say it's probably 85% data. There are days like on a Wednesday when I'm like, I need to play a tournament, where I will run the data and I'll pick what the program says and I'll put it in and it'll take me 10 minutes and I will just let it sit. Because I've put in all the work on the back end, right, to make the program great. So it's like, trust it. But then there's days like obviously for Breeders' Cup or big tournaments where I really want to win, where I will really dig in. And sometimes I'll just trust the data and sometimes I will, or if it looks pretty competitive and it's not like giving me a really strong answer on who it likes, I will really dig into the form. Or I really do like Timeform. I've been having a lot of fun with Timeform. So it's like, and it's always evolving, right? Like everybody's method is just as we learn more and win and lose, how we can, make it better.
Do you do programming stuff yourself? Is that something that you do hands-on?
No, I am not a coder. I mean, I can understand it and sometimes diagnose, like if there's an error or the program's throwing errors or something, I can sometimes get in there and figure it out, but I am not by trade a coder. Gotcha. So yes, my ex is the one who built this program and he's a fabulous handicapper. He taught me most of what I know about racing. I mean, I have to give myself some credit too, because I know a lot of my own, but this program is what he built. And then I am the one who maintains it and uses it now.
Very cool. Very cool. Again, so much interesting stuff to get into. But the last question I'm going to ask you for now,
Yes.
and as a newer person, I'm not sure that you'll have one of these or not, but maybe you do, a specific betting memory from the Breeders' Cup, either something that a winner that you had, a race that you appreciated, anything along those lines. We've been celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Breeders' Cup by trying to tell some stories from fans and horse players. So you probably have one.
Okay, so I have two that come to mind. One is Flightline, which I know is, but I mean, I was so excited. I brought my parents. They'd never been to a horse race ever. And so I was like, guys, if you're going to come, today's the day. Like, this is a horse we might not see again, right? Something like this again. So that for me was just like, I felt like I was watching history happen, and that was exciting for me. The second is probably 2019 Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita, because it wasn't my winning bet, but at that time, my partner at that time got 10th place in the Breeders' Cup.
Nice.
And it was one of those days where we both were just tanking. I mean, like, just loser after loser after loser. And it was like that Hail Mary trifecta in the last race, you know, and it worked. And so that was just like a very fun and exciting time. It wasn't my winning bet, but I got to experience it. So
hey, when your friends are winning, that's the next best thing, right? And tournaments make that true even more so than just betting at the windows. So much more to talk about with you.
Yeah.
We're going to bring you back on very soon to go deeper into this stuff. Unless you have a closing thought you want to give us.
I will be out there at Breeders' Cup, so I'm excited to see all the tournament players. I will be covering it for ABR too, covering the BCBC specifically, so that's fun. So I'm just hopefully I'll also have an entry as of tomorrow. but yeah, we will see. I'm excited. Will you be there?
Of course.
Okay,
of course.
great.
I'm at the Breeders' Cup. That's
I know. Come on. Of course we'll be there. Well, I look forward to seeing you in person.
Alexa, this is awesome. Next time, topics for next time, your art, which is something I really want to discuss as well. Very talented artist. Didn't even get to scratch the surface, but maybe a long visit. You'd be a great person for a long visit, maybe post BC. And I want to talk about, maybe we can brainstorm some ideas about trying to get more younger people and more female participation.
That's a big passion of mine.
Yeah, who better than you?
Love to do it. Let me know
stuff.
when. I'll be here.
Godspeed, Alexa.
Thank you.
Next up, another one of our 20-something brigade is joining us, and a man who I'm going to say has had as much success as really anybody in the 3 to 4 year history of Horseplayer Happy Hour, various successes along the way. He's Michael Domo, member of the In the Money team as well. Michael, how are things?
Yeah, Pete, I think I have the dubious distinction of having the most success in this format without actually winning one of the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seats that you guys have given out.
You did win a BCBC seat through the feeder, didn't you, last year?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So hopefully this is the sixth time's the charm, and we can win the final table here and punch our ticket to next week.
Are you enjoying it as much? Are you enjoying Horseplayer Happy Hour? I mean, you did the whole thread a while ago explaining why people should be. I mean, you've done so much to promote us. I'm just hoping it's working for you, and you're not just hanging on for dear life at this point.
No, I mean, I love I love a lot of contests that kind of reward loyalty, and so I feel like that's one of the characteristics of the series of contests. And it's also like just fun to have something to look forward to, fun to have a route every Thursday for the whole summer.
Awesome.
I just really enjoy that aspect of it. And you've got the part of the contest series where the vig is going to charity. So that allows you to kind of feel good about it as you're doing it week by week. But no, I love the series. It's something I look forward to every week.
Vice that you can feel good about. We're hoping to get you back doing some writing at some stage for In the Money. I understand you started a new job. You're a marketing analytics consultant or some such. But what do you think? Any chance we're going to see you back writing on the website at any point, or is the new job just eating your whole life?
Well, definitely want to get back into it. It's definitely a passion project of mine, writing for the In the Money folks, such as yourself. Love going on podcasts. The team's such a talented group. So I really enjoy debating like with people like Nick Tamaro. I have yet to be on the show with JK, but I always enjoy hearing his takes and every show that you're on as well. So definitely want to get back into it as my schedule allows.
You're very kind, and we got to get you on with JK. That's ridiculous that we haven't made that magic happen yet. Sooner rather than later for that project. Are you playing in the BCBC already? Are you definitely in, or is this your shot to be in?
This is it. It's kind of letting fate decide whether I play or not. I have like a personal conflict, so I won't be able to attend in person. So this was kind of my like outside shot at if I get in through this route, then so be it. But if I don't, then I'll have to wait till next year.
Give me a Breeders' Cup betting memory from the time you've been in the game. Obviously hasn't been all that long, but I have a feeling you've got a race or a horse or a wager that stand out.
Yeah, I attended the 2011 Breeders' Cup, and that was at Churchill Downs, and that was just like kind of when I was getting into multi-race wagers, and I was there with my dad and his good friend that we go up to Saratoga every year with, and I started to subscribe to the Steve Christ ABC ticket maker method, and we had a pick 4 going, and it was early on the Saturday card, and we went A. And then we got a C in the third leg, which was Amazombie in the dirt sprint. And the fourth leg of that pick 4 was the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So it was around one turn at Churchill that year. And I loved Caleb's Posse. Like that was the horse that I thought like I had just been turned on to the fact that turnbacks really work on the dirt. And he had beat Uncle Mo in the King's Bishop, and they ran him in one of those lower level derbies, but it was around 2 turns. I think it might have been Oklahoma or Indiana. I can't remember exactly which one, but they turned him back for the dirt mile around 1 turn, and I thought he couldn't lose. And we were alive for a big pick 4 into him, and I'm saying I'm going to bet him to win anyway. And my dad and his friend are like, no, let's hedge with somebody else. And I was like, no, I think he's going to win. So I bet him anyway. And sure enough, Rajiv Mirage gave a beautiful ride, and he stormed down the center of the lane, and that was like the first like big pick 4 I ever hit, and it was so much fun to root it on in person.
That's great, and that's a real sign of confidence when you're alive in that last leg, and you don't think about hedging. You want to bet more. You know your money's in good when you're in that spot. What a terrific betting memory, and not a race we've had anybody talk about yet in our in our celebrations of bettors in the 40 years of the Breeders' Cup. Well, Michael, we're going to get you back up on a show soon, but we've got more racing to get to in this final table, so we'll close it out just by wishing you Godspeed, my friend.
Thanks, Pete.
Michael's making a big run here at our final table. We're about to get another race. Or did we miss a race, Craig? What's going on? I see horses crossing a finish line. I was sure we were going to be back in time, but we may have missed the race I thought we were going to be throwing it to. But that's okay. Let's chat for a minute. And then we're going to bring up the leaderboard and see where we are. Yeah, it looks like the 5 horse getting the job done at Belmont at Aqueduct. The one day everybody seems to run on time, the day that we need maybe a little bit of leeway to get in some more of these live races, but that's okay. We're going to be here for the duration. Richard sharing a nice memory of the Mandela Day 20 years ago. Richard Mandela winning 4 Breeders' Cup races. I say he's got a decent shot at winning 2 this year, certainly with Tamara in the juvenile fillies. So let's see. Let me check the schedule again and see what I think we should do next. We can either wait for a leaderboard, or if we're close enough to another race, maybe we'll go to that. Let's see. So we've got race 8 at Keeneland. That's what just ran. We've got another race coming up, race 9 at Belmont. Let's get the Pat Quero. Let's get this interview in right now. And then maybe we'll get lucky and get Belmont, and we'll probably miss it, but that's okay. We'll have the last race in. We'll let you know that much. Anyway, let's get to Pat right now. Next up, a man whose name I've been pronouncing wrong all season long, but we'll get it right today. Pat Quero, welcome to In the Money Airwaves. How are things, buddy?
I'm great, Pete. Thank you. Everything's great. Appreciate it.
Always good to talk to another Italian American who has a name that can be pronounced a variety of ways. Give us the background on yourself. Where are you from? What do you do for a living? How old are you?
Yeah. So I'm about an hour north of Pittsburgh, a town called Newcastle. It's my hometown. I spent a little bit of time in Pittsburgh, going to school and working, and then kind of, navigated back up here. I'm a State Farm agent for about the past 20 years. My roots are in financial planning and investing, and I still do quite a bit of that with State Farm. So I think thus my affinity for numbers.
I was going to say
statistics. Yeah. So I just stumbled across, horse playing probably just about 6 or 7 years ago. Really didn't know anything about it. And, here we are trying to.
What attracted you to it? What attracted you to it, and how did you locate contests?
Yeah, great. So, I grew up in the 70s, so like affirmed Aladar, Seattle Slew era. My father was always really big into it, but not really from a gambling standpoint. I think with 5 kids, you probably don't have a whole lot of excess money going around, but and he continued to he loved the sport and he loved the backstories. So I always talked to him about it. But then, what kind of got me back into my oldest daughter went to school down at Louisville.
Okay.
Yeah, so and I think I got to see the Derby in 16, maybe Nyquist, I'm thinking, and started to have a little bit extra time, and I saw the horse players on the show on TV, and really was instrumental. I thought it was really cool, and particularly Matt's story, about how he got into it. And so from that point, I was like a sponge, just trying to learn as much as I could, including, not to plug, but I mean, your contest book was instrumental in that. And a friend of mine who is a Saratoga guy, and I've always been bothering him with questions and you name it, Brisnet articles. That's what I use. And so just this quest for to get better and to learn and to compete. I think that's what I'm about. Yeah.
Fantastic answer. What have been your other contest highlights so far? What are some of the fun experiences you've had?
Yeah, the big one was 2020. I think it was the COVID year. I did qualify for the Breeders' Cup, betting challenge, and that was it was surreal. I mean, Tim Schramm, maybe, I emailed him 10 times that weekend. I'm like, is this real? Because it's just, and so in typical like gambling fashion, right? I have this huge lead going into the qualifier, the $500, I'm going to qualify, and a horse goes around the corner and the jockey flies off, and everything just now, it gets really serious, obviously. But I'm thinking to myself, he's done riding. I have him on the next 2 races. Of course, this isn't going to happen, Pat. What did you think was going to happen? But we hung on and made it. So that was the pinnacle by far. I'm trying to get back. Yeah.
Well, that's great. You're in with a big shot here at the final table. It's been fun seeing you participate all year long. What are your thoughts on Horseplayer Happy Hour in general? How does this dovetail with the rest of your contest playing? Do you enjoy the format?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, when I go into it each week, I see so many names on the board. I'm like, really not sure that I have a chance here, and then I think it was a couple months ago, came in second or in one of the contests, and it boosts my confidence, and quite honestly, because again, I'm just, I don't go to the track. I've been to a couple of tracks, but I don't go regularly. I'm still working. I don't have a lot of extra time, and I still do everything by paper. So
that's interesting.
It's not good, but it's actually one of the reasons I don't really try to do the NHC much, because I don't think I could handle that volume, of race from what I understand, but so yeah, I'm honored to have been fortunate, lucky enough to be here in this final 10, but I love it.
You got here by hard work, that's for sure. Do you have, before I let you go, do you have a Breeders' Cup betting memory from the years you've been following, or if not a betting memory, a particular horse that impressed you in the Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, there are two things that stick out. One is I changed a bet prior to a race, and of course my 13-1 horse won.
the one you didn't bet.
The one I didn't bet. So again, you know, if you struggle with confidence, it's a tough game. You got to really be confident in your picks, and so that I don't remember the horse, but I think it was a turf sprint, and I'm like, man. And then there was a horse that just ran last weekend or two at Keeneland. Is a female trainer from up in maybe Minnesota, had a sprint pedigree horse. And I bet this horse to beat Golden Pal. That's another one of my. Is a good one. But in all fairness, the horse's sire or dam had won a Breeders' Cup race, so I felt there was pedigree enough there, even though they were lightly raced as a 2-year-old. And but she stumbled out of the gate. She was an early horse, so we'll never know.
Yeah, that's right. That was the year Golden Pal blitzed them, as opposed to the year that Golden Pal fell out of there last year, letting Caravel get the job done. Right. Great stuff, Pat. Really appreciate you coming on here and sharing with us. You know, I'm rooting for everybody at the final table. I mean, I'm just excited that everybody's been able to get their different paths. It's just a really cool, eclectic group of horse players this year, and really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, we appreciate what you do, though, Pete, for real. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. It's so funny hearing all these people citing horse players, even all those years later, as such a source. Okay, we're getting ready to go in the gate. Craig, if you have it in front of you, text me who the principals have here before we send this to the call out at the Big A. Once again, loading right on time, not something that we're used to seeing during the summer. But I guess this time of year with daylight a wasting, they don't waste any time. And it sounds like Mike K has the 10. So big price. That could shake things up. Mike D has the 1. He's just looking to pad points at this stage of the game as they begin to load there. It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out. We've got a big battle for $10,000 among our final tablists. And then, of course, we've got our qualifier going as well. Best thing about Horseplayer Happy Hour, several of our final tablists have mentioned the way that it supports charity. Want to point that out. Equine Aftercare gets the House Cup. That's the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance, who do the critical work of accrediting all these charities, and our founding partners at the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. We've done a great job collectively supporting them this year. It's always a great thrill to see the money that goes their way. Richard wanted to know where JK is. I said we have too many pre-tapes. Don't worry about it. I believe it's his wife's birthday. I said you don't need to pop on for the 5 minutes I'm going to be on live today because we've got so much else going on. But he'll be a big part of our coverage next week that we're doing for the Breeders' Cup content team. He'll be on our final answer show that is going to be on Thursday, and more. Okay, let's send this out to the call
for the Thursday finale. And they're all in. And they're off. From the inside, it is Gotham Gray away well. Bank Holiday is right there. And now moving up from the outside is Eastern Star. Eastern Star now grabs the lead. And then it is Sweet Liberty, who is moving up to take second. On the outside, gaining ground, is Two Redheads. Two Redheads has now moved into third. Then comes Montauk Mystique next in fourth. Gotham Gray's down on the inside in fifth. Army of Thoughts is in sixth. About to be passed on the outside by Maxing the Bank from seventh. Bank Holiday down at the rail runs in eighth. Then comes Strange Fruit in ninth. Alongside is a Good Morning Kiss. Farther back in the field is Countess Constance, and the trailer is Darling Cat. The field is coming for the top of the stretch, and it is Sweet Liberty in the pink blinkers there. And moving up on the outside is two redheads now to the front. Eastern Star has taken second. And then comes Montauk Mystique moving into third. Sweet Liberty is back running in fourth. And Gotham Gray. It is two redheads, and she has blown it wide open here. Two redheads gives Manny Franco 2 wins on the day. A photo for second between Montauk Mystique and Eastern Star.
That could end up being a very costly photo for Mike Cavana for second place, as it looks like the 10 runner just gets pipped on the wire there. It's close. We'll leave it for the judge before it's official, but that could be a significant result in this contest. Let's watch that through the stretch one more time. If you're in the comments, let me know who you think holds on here or just gets up in terms of this place photo. But in the end, the 5 runner just blows the field away, and we're left with this battle for second. And you can see the 7 with all the momentum. Huge race from the 10 for Mike Cavana, and it's close, but it looks like the 7 to me. Again, we'll leave it for the judge. We'll wait for confirmation. We'll wait for this to be official and see what effect it has on our leaderboard. I think that's going to leave us just with one race to go. When that goes official, Craig, go ahead and go right to the leaderboard. Actually, let's confirm the result. I'm pretty sure it's going to come 5, 7, 10. And then when it goes official, we'll go to those leaderboards and see where we are. Oh, Mike K just chimes in. He does say it's the 7 for sure. And yeah, there it is. Unlucky stuff there, Mike K. It was a good pick. A very good pick at 18-1 in Eastern Star, runs an absolutely huge race. I had another runner in there who unfortunately ran about half a race. Gotham Gray didn't really seem to appreciate being down there on the inside. Maybe wasn't quite fast enough to get the lead, cutting back in distance. Definitely one that I think will, make that condition under the right circumstances, maybe with a little bit more of a favorable draw. This was one of those spot in the book things for that one. We'll see what effect this has on the leaderboard in just a minute, and then we've got a couple more tapes to get to before our last race. In fact, maybe out of caution here, Craig, rather than wait to do the leaderboard update now, I think maybe we should start these tapes because I want to get to the 3 of these before we are out of time. And we just were talking about Mike Cavana. Let's actually get to his tape next. He was on it was at the final table last year and gets to repeat. So this is a man who clearly knows what he's doing. Here he is, Mike Cavana. Next up, another final tableist, and not just a final tableist, but Lexi, the miniature poodle, joining us for a cameo. Oh, what a face! Welcome back to the In the Money airwaves, Mike Cavana. How are things, my friend?
Thanks, Pete. Things are good.
I was going to joke, we've got to stop meeting like this, but from your point of view, I'm sure you're thrilled.
I don't mind. I do this every year.
Is this 2 years in a row? I can't remember. I get my years confused, or was it 2 years ago?
It is 2 years in a row. Yeah.
Amazing. What about your style of play do you think makes you so suited to what we do here at Horseplayer Happy Hour?
I think one, I play a lot because, as we talked about last time, it's a really good cause. So yes. I play the whole time to get into this, and I think it's just lucky. I mean, I am more of a win place player than a cash money player for sure, and I play more favorites in this format when it's 1 out of every 2 get there. But I barely made it in the second round. I barely squeaked into the round of 20. So it's just luck.
When you reflect on your year of playing Horseplayer Happy Hour, is there a particular day or horse that stands out to you as one that really helped you get your spot at this final table?
There isn't really. It felt much more disappointing than last year as a whole. I wasn't that high on the leader. Last year I was competing on the leaderboard for a lot of the year, right? This year I was just barely staying in the area where I could get in. So nothing actually stands out this year.
But that's a good point about the format is, we had another guest who we'll be talking to today who had one huge week that basically got him all the tour points he needed. And then for you, sounds like more of a grindy situation this year as opposed to last year.
Exactly right. I think I may have qualified 3 times for the tournament. So it's not that many, but enough. Right?
enough indeed, and it's great to have you back here. Remind people the basic questions of your your life situation, where you're from, how old you are, what you do, that kind of stuff.
So 52, live in Walpole, Massachusetts. No prison jokes this year, please. And third was what I do. So I'm a biochemist. I do basic research in the pharmaceutical industry.
And I want to talk to the players. I forgot to do this with one of our previous guests, but I want to talk about Breeders' Cup betting memories. We've said throughout the year here that one of the things we want to do, this 40th anniversary, there's a lot of great tributes to so many different players in the industry. We don't want horse players to be left out. Do you have a particular Breeders' Cup betting memory that you'd want to share? Could be a near miss, could be a big score, really wherever your brain takes you on that.
Maybe not so much of a betting memory. It's more of just a Breeders' Cup memories in general, like Easy Goer, watching that race, right? Easy Goer Sunday Silence, that whole season. Arazi was absolutely amazing, right? That run in the Breeders' Cup. Yeah, it's memories like that every year. There's some seeing Flightline last year, right? It was just incredible. So
yeah, it's those great performances. Now, in any of those three, were you able to tie in any kind of betting score, or were they more interesting to you simply from a fan point of view at that point?
I guess more of a fan point of view than throwing any betting scores in those. Yeah, for sure.
I wish I had been there for the Easy Goer Sunday Silence showdown when I did the show. We did the Breeders' Cup Memory Show for At the Races, the one that we were lucky enough to win an Eclipse Award for, and getting to talk to Andy Beyer about that, and just the anticipation, the excitement, those two greats laying it down and in figure term, I mean, in every term possible, but including figure terms, just a performance for the ages. Were you, as an East Coaster, were you on the Easy Goer side of things, or how did you fall?
Certainly was. That's for sure. And
Are
generally,
you one that will make excuses to this day, or
of course. Although I certainly acknowledge the quality of both horses. So.
It's a shame we didn't get to see more of Easy Goer on the breeding side of things. I think the Sunday Silence crew sort of get the last laugh with how he pretty much literally changed the breed in Japan. But if Easy Goer had gotten more of a chance to show his stuff, who knows? Even that can be argued in favor of the East Coast. And I do, we have hanging right here on the wall in the little house on the east side, the big Easy Goer pick. And I feel bad. I feel like I should have a Sunday Silence pick for equal time or something, but I've yet to do that. Well, let's talk about the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Have you played in the event? Before? Will you be playing regardless, or is this really your potential ticket to get there?
So I played twice before, last 2 years actually, and this year I will actually be going out to California. I did qualify earlier.
Oh, awesome.
So it'll actually be my first Breeders' Cup since Belmont. So that tells you how long ago I was last at a Breeders' Cup. 2006,
right? I mean, that was that's wild. Oh, that's so exciting that you're going to be out there. How has your experience been in the event the last couple of years?
It's been fun. I play it more for fun. I talked about that last year as well. So I'm not the strongest cash money player. So it really is just fun to be involved in the tournament for sure.
Do you do it sort of like you're betting what you would bet anyway? And hey, if you happen to get a run, maybe you get into the prize pool, or do you tailor the experience to the contest?
Maybe somewhere in between. Certainly later in the contest, I'll tailor it more towards the contest and go much bigger single bets to try to move up. But earlier on, it's really just playing for playing.
I know it's very early to ask you this question while we don't even have the PPs for the pre-entries, but do you have any ideas, any early leans this year, places you might be looking to plant a flag at the BC?
I really don't at this point. I'm sorry. I should have prepared better for this.
Not at all. You've got a contest to win, and we appreciate that. What will your we're talking here now on Tuesday. The contest, this will be airing on Thursday. Do your preparations change when you get to the final table?
It really doesn't. It's using all the same sort of data sources I use, solving the puzzles of individual races. Because it's mandatory races, you're picking certain ones. Just go work through each of them systematically. Usually start the night before and continue into the next day.
How long does it take you typically to handicap a sequence for an event like Horseplayer Happy Hour?
Probably a couple hours.
Is that typical to how the time it takes you to approach races, generally speaking?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm not a big replay watcher, so that all that time that could be invested there, I don't typically do. So it's just all the other data sources.
And I think we talked about some of those data sources last year, but remind me, what are your sort of go-tos in terms of what you're looking at?
Yeah, definitely old school pen and paper form for sure. But HDR is a big one. It's become even bigger, right? Using all the sort of pace handicapping there. And I do still use optics to get just kind of a nice visual first look at the pace scenarios and then go from there.
I think those are both sort of next level tools that complement a lot of other stuff people might be using. HDR really gives you that if you're an old school, if you have leanings to the old school pace handicapping, a modern pace handicapping Brohammer stuff. I mean, that's exactly what that enables you to do. In optics, while I'm not a user, I've heard a lot of people, Frank Scatoni talks about how it's sort of next level, the way it can help you see what's unfolding in terms of the pace. So those definitely seem like some things that would help. But I love the fact that you also bring the old school pen and paper and DRF into it, sort of a blend of the old school and new school. And clearly it's done you very well with these 2 final table appearances in a row.
Yeah, thanks. I can say, like, since last year, I've dove into modern pace handicapping and other books. I've done a lot of reading into the theory as well to help complement it, right? As a scientist, it's just natural for me to think analytically like that. So.
I love it. I think it's great. I mean, those internal pace matchups. I mean, you hear the way I talk about races on the shows all the time. I mean, it's all rooted in that, and the multi-race strategy of looking for the best speed and the best closer, depending on how it's going to shake out. And yeah, that's a book that, oh gosh, it probably needs an update, though I guess there's also a lot of good. Ken Massa, who's the guy behind HDR, has done, I've sort of lost track, but he's done a lot of wonderful writing that I think is available for free, ebooks and such, describing a lot of those same ideas and methodologies as time has gone on, and ways you can use that tool, which is not part of my arsenal at the moment, but at times I've gotten very, very into it. I'm in my nice steady rhythm now, and it's been working, but I love the idea that you're, combining all these different things. And I love that idea too, the science and the art of handicapping. I mean, for you, how's the blend between those, how much of it is art and how much of it is science when it comes to picking horses?
Probably a little more science, but the end pick is always the art, right? So do all the analytics, look at all of that, and then look at it all with my eyes and make sure I believe the numbers well enough. And sometimes picks change because of that kind of art feeling side of things.
Our next final tableist, very happy to see her again. She's Tanya Taylor. What's going on, Tanya?
Hey, Pete, just watching the pre-entries and getting ready for Breeders' Cup.
That's right. Give us the lowdown on I know you've been playing in contests for a while. Give us sort of the overview for those who haven't heard you talk about your background in the game before. How'd you get involved and how long you've been at this?
Well, I've only been playing in tournaments, maybe, I don't know, maybe 15 years. I really don't remember. Initially got into horse racing due to my aunt and uncle way back in the day when I was a little kid. So I've been a lifelong lover of the sport.
That's fantastic. And where did you grow up? What track was that you were going to?
Going to Oaklawn.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what attracted you the most to the sport in the first place? The gambling side, the equine side, a little bit of everything?
Well, when I was younger, it's just the equine side. But now then I like the gambling just as well.
That's excellent. Yeah. That's excellent. And how did tournaments come into the picture? Where did you first learn about them?
A couple of my friends were playing in tournaments, and I thought, well, I'd like to try that too. So it was very frustrating for several years, but then finally I got over the hump. Yeah.
What changed? What was different between was it just adapting the mindset to the kinds of horses you needed, or how would you describe it?
That was part of it because, well, I was used to Oaklawn. It seems like during the meet, there's a lot of favorites that come in at Oaklawn. Mm-hmm. So when I was playing in the tournaments, I wasn't necessarily always looking to beat the chalk. And now a little better mindset to try to beat the chalk.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, dirt racing can be, a bit more predictable in itself, and of course, that's what you get the steady diet of at Oaklawn. What are some of the successes you've had in tournaments? Have you been to have you been out to Vegas? Have you played in BCBCs? Tell me some of your history.
Well, I've played in, I think, about 5 BCBCs I've won entries in. I've not done real well in those, but I did enjoy playing. And then I've won again this year into the NHC, so hopefully I'll do better this year. I've played in that, I think, like 5 or 6 times.
Great.
Yeah, so looking forward to that.
What do you like the most about tournament play?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. I like competing. I think that's fun, and just seeing how well you do versus other people.
That idea is it to me. It's that interesting interconnection of camaraderie and competition. Of course, when you bet in the pari-mutuel pools, you're competing against other players, but there's something really fun about seeing your name rise up that leaderboard, especially when you're sitting next to your friends and the people you're competing against. How did you hear about Horseplayer Happy Hour?
Well, I was just on the Horseplayer website and was looking, at different tournaments to play, and I saw that and I thought, well, I'll see what that is. And then somehow I heard that you guys were doing it, and I think it benefits the charity for retired horses. And I thought, well, that's a great thing to play in then.
That's great. Yeah, the whole combination of it. What do you do when you're not betting horses? What's your day job, as it were?
Well, right now I'm basically retired, so I don't have a day job really.
Has that been have horses taken on more of a focus for in that state?
No, I can't say that it has. I think I spend more time with my family now. So
gotcha.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Do you have other family members who enjoy the track?
Well, my parents enjoy, and my sister enjoy going. Now, they're not big gamblers or anything like that, but they like to go and just watch and cheer on their horses. And, we usually do that every year. So it's
fantastic. Yeah. How often do you get out to Oaklawn typically during the meet? You still in that area? We had to cut away from Tanya there. It was great getting a chance to catch up with her. Shout outs also to the 3 we didn't get to. Brian Hofacker, Seth Wilkie, and Chris Littlemore, the NHC former champ, who told me he was going to be on the golf course and might be 6 beers in by this point. So I told him he was off the hook, but appreciate everybody. Sorry we didn't get to absolutely everything, but here's the situation. We have a race to the finish here. Mike Cavana has the 6. Michael Domo has the 7. And I think it's down to those 2. Well, I'd have to run. I didn't have time to run through the leaderboard and see if anybody from further back can get into it. That'll be the main points of interest. We'll see. I mean, obviously, if a big capper wins here, who the heck knows? But let's see. The principal players are the 6 and the 7 in this battle of the mics that we've been sweating out, and they're off.
Their star slugger, Ruthless Rua, Jefe de Obra. Jefe de Obra moves up for the lead. Star slugger between horses, Ruthless Rua. Far outside, Huntertown is away, running in the 4th position as they head for the far turn. Gilded Ruler between horses in 5th, 5 lengths off the early lead. Congrats on 50 is a wide 6th onto the turn. Then Zartaunis back toward the inside in 7th. Trust Daddy is 8th. Judge Davis is 9th, and Vocalize is last of the 10 after an opening quarter in 21.54 seconds. Jefe de Obra toward the inside. Star Slugger there on the outside, separated by a length around the turn. Huntertown is right behind the leader against the rail, seeking now to move up from in between horses. Gilded Ruler trying to come forward with that one. Trust Daddy is there. Congrats on 50 on the far outside. Zartaunis needs room. Zartaunis crying out for room to the inside. As they move into the final furlong, here's Trust Daddy, here's Gilded Ruler, Jefe de Obra, Zartaunis, Judge Davis coming after Jefe de Obra. Here's the wire. Judge Davis gets up on the wire as Jefe de Obra was 2nd.
It comes 5-4, and that's going to do it. Michael Domo will be our representative from the Horseplayer Happy Hour playoffs here. Both horses fired from the Michaels, But in the end, the race comes apart at the seams, and all class, Mike Cavana, first one in the comments, or co-first one with Alexa to wish him Godspeed. Wanted to point out a nice comment earlier from Trish Smith saying how great it was to see Alexa and seeing some female representation and young female representation at that in contest play, something we want to see a lot more of. But really appreciate everybody who pitched in on these shows. We'll wait. We'll give the official leaderboard and we'll see what happened in the main tournament as well. But I'm already going to start with the thank yous. We're going to start off with our partners here at the Breeders' Cup. What a pleasure they've been to work with, Justin and Haley, to give us this platform and do something great for horse players. And so we always like to say we vote with our dollars as horse players, and a lot of you have supported this event throughout the year, and we hope we'll get you back next year. I see no reason why we won't do this again. And of course, our charity partners as well, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance and the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Hope you'll give generously to both of those causes, because they're doing the much needed work of finding homes for these horses after their racing days are done. What a fantastic collection of final tables we have. Really, really want to thank each and every one of them. That was super cool. And so many people have been really active in the comments all year long. And that makes these shows fun. Almost everything we do is recorded. So to get a chance to deal with people in real time, that's special and something that I really, really appreciate. On the production side of things, producer Craig is a rock star. Producer AJ was with us a lot of time as well. So they do a great job. Pat Q in the comments, great to see that. Yeah, I want to hear more about the Qualifier name that I don't even want to say it the wrong way, because then I'll start saying it that way again. It was practically an Alcibiades situation, Pat. We don't need a repeat of that. But hopefully we're going to see a lot of people out at the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. If you see me at Santa Anita, please say hi. Say you know me from Horseplayer Happy Hour for extra credit. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great 2 days of racing. We've got you covered. There's so much stuff coming up. We will do a show. Might not be at exactly the same time, but we're going to do something cool live streaming. It'll probably won't be on the Breeders' Cup channels because they're so busy next week, but we'll do something on the In the Money YouTube that is a Q&A format. We are going to get those questions and answers in advance, and we're going to give preference to our In the Money Plus people. Speaking of In the Money Plus, if you are interested in getting all of our content, including extra podcasts, grid picks, etc., inthemoneypodcast.com/plus, the place to go for that. But believe me, you can get tons for free. We're going to have our Monster Pods there, all going to be posted audio version as soon as I hit a button here, pretty much. And then you can check those out, videos, other special videos, final answer show. Going to have so much stuff. So there's no real obligation. I'm not going to say you're at any huge disadvantage to not do the plus thing, but it is a great way to support us, and you will get extra content, and we'll help you organize all that content, which could very well help you when it comes to your Breeders' Cup play. Any second now, I think we're going to be going official. You can see that 5-runner in the winner's circle down there at Keeneland. And what we'll do then is just hit these 2 leaderboards and get out of here. JK, I'm going to give a special thanks to as well. It was great. He'd been a cameo performer on the first couple of years, but to get him here as a regular this week. Drew Coatney was a wonderful co-host, a lot of weeks, really helping us carry the ball through the summer and giving us his unique perspective on tournaments. Obviously, be rooting for him as well as all of our players in this Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. And it is something appropriate about Michael Domo getting it, given how much he supported this event from the beginning. It's only appropriate that he should lead us. And there it is in black and white with the contest completed 87-64, the winning total for Michael Domo. He and Mike Cavana put on quite a show in this one. And again, congrats to everybody else who made it all the way to the final table. Let's zip over to our qualifier leaderboard. We'll see if our previous Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour champ held on. He did. Greg Kingma getting the job there, 123.48. So congrats to Greg. That's terrific to see somebody. And Greg also won a seat this year, I think, on a week that he made it through to the qualifier from our feeder. So, you know, we can see how the loyal supporters, the racing gods, have been smiling upon them. And hopefully that's going to continue with this great crew of players that we have. This show has been a joint production of the Breeders' Cup and In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your Breeders' Cup photos.